I have to be honest with you. When I saw those Monza test numbers, I was genuinely shocked. Not surprised. Not impressed. Shocked. I went on record and I told everyone watching, that data is not normal. That is not a team chasing the pack. That is a team that has unlocked something fundamental. And I meant every single word of that. I believed it completely. But then Miami happened. And now I have to be equally honest, because that is what I do, about what the Miami result actually means for Ferrari. Because the gap between what the Monza data promised and what we watched on race day in Florida, that gap is the most important story in Formula One right now. And today, I am going to break it down completely. No hype, no spin, just the truth. Let me take you back to April 22nd. Monza, Ferrari's private filming day during the 5-week gap between Japan and Miami. I have seen a lot of Formula One data in my career, as a driver, as a pundit, as someone who has spent his entire life inside this sport. And what Ferrari produced at Monza was genuinely different. It was not just faster lap times. Every analyst can see faster lap times and explain them away with tire choices and fuel loads and track conditions. This was something else entirely. The improvement appeared in exactly the right places. Directly on the straights. Directly in the energy deployment sections. Directly in the areas where Ferrari had been consistently, measurably losing time to Mercedes and McLaren throughout the entire opening of the season. Hamilton had publicly identified the problem himself, a lack of deployment, too much derating at the end of the straights. And at Monza, that specific weakness appeared to be closing. But here's what really caught my attention. Both Hamilton and Leclerc were producing the same improvement, lap after lap, regardless of their completely different driving styles. Hamilton is aggressive and late on the brakes. Leclerc is smooth and precise through the mid-corn. When two drivers that different produce the same data pattern, that tells you the car has changed at a fundamental level. Not setup, not tires. The car itself. I said it then, and I stand by it. That data looked like a team on the verge of a genuine breakthrough. The Macarena Wing 2.0 running cleanly for the first time. A new floor, new halo winglets, rebuilt energy management software, 11 upgrades, more than any other team on the grid. Fred Vasseur was smiling when he talked about bringing a package and a half to Miami. The expectations going into Florida were real, high, and justified, based on everything the Monza data was showing. And then the race happened. Let me start with Charles. Because Leclerc's Miami Grand Prix was a story of two completely different races happening inside the same 75 minutes. Race 1, the opening 15 laps. Leclerc launches off the line brilliantly. He goes around the outside of Antonelli, clean, aggressive, precise, and takes the lead of a Formula One Grand Prix. The raw pace at the front was real. Absolutely real. So the car has something. That much is not in question. But then came race 2. The second half. The energy management phase. The phase where Ferrari's structural weakness, the same weakness I was hoping Monza had addressed, came back. Because every time Antonelli, Norris, or Piastri activated their overtake mode, that brutal energy deployment burst that the 2026 hybrid regulations permit, Ferrari had no matching answer. Leclerc himself said it with complete honesty afterwards. I knew it was going to be crucial to have overtake. And I knew our deployment out of turn 3 wasn't very good compared to the McLaren. He knew, before the race, he knew the weakness was still there. And he drove the entire Grand Prix knowing that if he managed the car conservatively, if he was patient, the pace simply would not be there when he needed it most. That is not a driver making a mistake under pressure. That is a driver being forced into desperation by a car that does not yet give him the freedom to be patient. And desperation in Formula One, at 300 kilometers an hour, ends in walls. Final lap. Turn 11. A spin. Contact with the barriers. Suspension damage. Corner cutting with a broken car. And then, 20 seconds added to his time after the checkered flag. A potential podium became 8th place. Gone. In the worst possible way. Leclerc's own words tell the full story. I pushed very hard. I thought it was a good idea. But it was a very poor decision. And in the space of 4 corners, I put a very strong race in the bin. When a driver of Charles Leclerc's level says that, when one of the most talented qualifying drivers in Formula One history describes his own decision as very poor, you have to ask why. And the ANSWER is uncomfortable. He overcommit because he had no choice. The car forced his hand. And then there is Lewis, which in many ways is the even more difficult part of this conversation. Hamilton's Miami Grand Prix was over before it had barely begun. On the very first lap, contact with Franco Colapinto, floor damage, side pod damage. Ferrari came on the radio almost immediately and delivered 4 words that should haunt everyone inside Maranello: damage side pod and floor. Nothing we can do. Nothing we can do. That is what a team tells a 7-time world champion at the start of a 57-lap Grand Prix. And then they send him back out, lap after lap, managing a car that had lost, according to Karun Chandok's analysis, 10 to 15 points of downforce on every single lap. Cooling issues, balance issues, an engine running so hot that Vasseur himself confirmed Hamilton had to manage his pace to protect the power unit from failing entirely. Hamilton's own verdict afterwards was short and completely accurate. Not a good weekend at all. He is right. It was not. 6th place. Surviving. Not racing. A 7-time world champion who has won in Monaco, Silverstone, Singapore, Spa, surviving to 6th in Miami with a broken floor and nowhere to go. And here's what that tells me analytically. Hamilton has repeatedly said throughout this season that a lack of power compared to rivals is making life difficult over the full course of a race. That straight-line energy deficit he identified publicly after China, it is still there in Miami. The same structural weakness, the same problem, and the Monza data, which I genuinely believed had addressed it, clearly has not solved it completely yet in race conditions. Now let me tell you why the Miami result is even more concerning than the raw numbers suggest. Because context matters enormously in Formula One. McLaren brought 7 upgrades to Miami, against Ferrari's 11. And McLaren's upgrade package had a significantly more immediate and impactful effect on their race pace than Ferrari's 11 changes had on theirs. Norris won the sprint dominantly. Piastri finished second in both the sprint and the Grand Prix. McLaren's upgrades worked on their very first weekend. Immediately, visibly, undeniably. And Mercedes? Kimi Antonelli won the Miami Grand Prix for a 3rd consecutive time, without even bringing their major upgrade package to Florida. Mercedes deliberately saved their biggest development step for the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal. Think about what that means. Mercedes wins 3 races in a row without their best upgrade. Their best upgrade has not even arrived yet. And Ferrari, with 11 upgrades, with the Macarena wing, with a completely rebuilt energy system, with the highest upgrade count of any team on the grid, finished 6th and 8th. When I reacted to the Monza test data, I said very clearly, if Ferrari confirms this on track hierarchy, ES change, Miami was the first real opportunity to confirm it. And the answer, right now, is not yet. Karun Chandok made a point after Miami that I think is absolutely critical. Ferrari now need to think very carefully about whether there is further performance to be unlocked from this upgrade. Because if Miami represents the ceiling of what the Monza package can deliver, McLaren and Mercedes will not be worried at all. So does this mean I was wrong to be shocked at Monza? Let me be very clear about this. No, the data was real. The improvement was genuine. The engineers inside Ferrari were visibly satisfied for good reason. What Monza showed was real potential that had not existed in the car before that filming day. But here is the distinction I should have been clearer about at the time. Monza was a controlled environment. A filming day. No pressure. No rival cars. No championship points. No battle on lap 47 with Verstappen wheel to wheel and everything on the line. The circuit layout at Monza means the car is running at consistent speed on long straights, which is the ideal condition for testing energy management improvements. Miami is completely different. Tight corners, multiple overtaking zones, constant energy cycling, constant deployment demands, real race conditions with real competitors and real consequences. And what Monza may have shown us is a ceiling under perfect controlled conditions, not necessarily what the SF26 can do when it is being pushed to its absolute limit in a championship fight. The Macarena wing ran cleanly in Miami. That is genuinely positive. The new floor showed promise in qualifying. Leclerc's opening laps were quick. The potential is real. But translating controlled test data into consistent race performance over 57 laps in the Florida heat, that translation is still incomplete. So where does this leave us? Here is my honest analytical verdict. The Monza warning I gave still stands, but the clock is now ticking louder than before. Canada is next. Mercedes brings their major upgrade to Montreal. McLaren adds more development to an already working package. And Ferrari? They need to answer a very serious and very urgent question. Was Monza the beginning of a genuine revolution? Or was it a glimpse of what could be, still waiting to be fully born in race conditions? Miami gave us the answer for this moment. Not yet, but Formula One seasons are long. And the most uncomfortable version of this story, the version that genuinely worries me, is the one where Ferrari eventually gets it right. Where the energy management clicks. Where the soft tire mystery gets solved. Where Leclerc and Hamilton finally have the car that matches their tail. And they get there just a few races too late to matter. Or just in time to change everything. That tension, that knife edge between too late and just in time, that is exactly what I am watching in 2026. Very carefully, every single race weekend. The Monza data was real. The Miami result was real. Both are true at the same time. And that is what makes Ferrari in 2026 the most fascinating and most frustrating story in Formula One. They are close, genuinely close. But close is not enough when Mercedes is winning without their best upgrade and McLaren is dominating sprints with 7 changes on the car. Canada is the next big test. And if Ferrari cannot answer the question in Montreal, the season may already be running away from them. Drop a comment. Do you think Ferrari can find that missing step before it is too late? Subscribe for the full Canada breakdown. I will see you in Montreal.